Yo, 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 what's good, everybody? Bang, bang, not a gang. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, how are we feeling today? We got another beautiful day, and we got another show to do. Yo, what's up, everybody? What's up, Raphael? He says hit the like and subscribe, everyone. Yes, please hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. I had this scheduled to start at 3:45 p.m. today, but I was like, I got home early. Let's get it out of the way. Let's knock it out. It's kind of weird for me to be early, right? I'm usually fashionably late. What's up, Ann Ford? Augie Gonzalez, Highlight Heaven, what's up? Joshua Lopez. My man Highlight Heaven says Niners are the best. They absolutely are. And today's episode is going to talk about basically the best players at midseason. We're sitting here week 9. The Niners don't have a game this week. We're entering the bye week. This is a good opportunity to reflect back at the first half of the season, and then we get to kind of look forward and see what's to be expected. We're going to break down the schedule. We'll make some predictions. I'm going to talk about who I think stood out, and also I'm going to talk about who hasn't stood out and been the worst, because we can't just sit here and be peaches and daisies and lollipops and talk about all the great things, because it hasn't been perfect. The team is 4-4. It's not like everything has been perfect. Yes, when we win, it's fantastic, but they have 4 losses, and we got to pick out the people that didn't stand out, right? The most disappointing players. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the predictions going into the second half of the season, because there's no game this week. The Niners, again, on the bye week, so we might as well talk about what we've seen already. So my man Brendan Murphy says, after the bye week, we're going to be locked and loaded. We are. I think we're going to be healthy, and we'll definitely talk about that today when we talk about our second half predictions. Highlight Heaven says not in the Rams game. We crushed the Rams. You got to love it. And Ford says Kittle is doing the polar plunge. Can you believe that? God, I saw that video, and when I saw Kittle go in that Arctic water, the frozen cold water, I was cold. I was like, God, that's cold, bro. That is too cold. You know what? It's just that's too. I couldn't do it. Kittle's built different. They always say Kittle's built different. He truly is built different. Unbelievable. What's up, April? Brendan Murphy. What is up? What is up? A 49ers throwback. What is up? Yeah, it is cold. So let's get into these standouts, right? Mid-season awards, as you might. A lot of people do these things. Might as well go into who we think has been the most standout player. So I want to start with the rookies. When a new season starts, we're always hyped up during draft season, right? Or when the off season starts, we're always so excited about draft season. You look into the draft, and then you're hoping your team gets all these players, and then you're disappointed when they don't get the players you want, right? You get these draft crushes. And then the Niners, we sit here, we look at their players, we hype them all up. We're so excited about everybody. But then, the season comes. Some of them play, some of them don't. Some of them are redshirted, just like Aaron Banks last year. And then you get to kind of really gauge and see how these players are looking. Some of them make meaningful contributions right away, depending on the situation. Like last year, Elijah Mitchell, there was injuries. He came in and he became this like superstar running back for us, right? So we're going to kind of look into the rookies. On defense, I want to start at defense. That's the heart and soul of this team, right? The defense, I feel like the standout rookie right now on defense has been Drake Jackson. There hasn't been a lot of, big time rookies this year. Sam Womack, he's made some strides. He looked good in training camp. He was really looking good in preseason. They drafted Tariq Castro Fields. He's not even on the team anymore. He went to Washington, unfortunately. But Drake Jackson is looking like a second-round steal. He looks really good when he's in the game. He's made the most of his opportunities. He's just flashed great potential. And I honestly think that he's going to be a really, really spectacular player when it's all said and done. He's got that athleticism, that bend. He's got 3 sacks. He's been playing with the high motor. He's been pretty good against the run. Chris Kasurik's developing him. We know Chris Kasurik's a phenomenal defensive line coach. And I think right now the best rookie on the defense, it's just by far and away, this is an easy one. It was Drake Jackson so far. He looks really good. Bosa was out for a little bit, and Drake came in, and he's played well in replace of Bosa. I mean, it's obviously big shoes to fill. There are other guys in the D line, right? Samson Ebicam and Charles Omenihu and Kerry Hyder that have really helped him out. But Drake Jackson's held his own, and I think he's been the standout rookie on defense. And I'm impressed. He was my favorite rookie coming into this season that the Niners drafted. I was very excited. He's got a great family. I've talked to them. He's a really humble guy, just a hardworking kid, and I'm really excited about the future of Drake Jackson. And so far through 8 games, he has been my top defensive rookie. I think it's very easy to make that call. So we're going to talk about Kinlaw. Unlimited Joker says, do you think that Kinlaw comes back this season? His knee injury is chronic. Yeah, that is a big, tough injury. And that's what we talked about earlier in the season. The off season is, ACL surgery. He's had a lot of knee issues. He's a big guy, and I know he's gotten into shape, but we've talked about Kinlaw many times, and I feel like he is kind of like that Greg Oden of the NFL. But we're going to talk about Kinlaw when I get to some of these guys. So Drake the Snake says Joshua. JR says Drake needs to start. Let's talk about that, man. I think Drake Jackson eventually is going to be a big-time player on this team. I really think he will definitely be starting soon. But, he's a rookie. He's got to learn his earn his stripes. And Chris Kasurk really knows how to develop these guys. So good on the D-line. But, yeah, Drake Jackson, to me, is the best rookie defensive player. Now, moving on to the offensive side of things, this is where it gets tricky because they really haven't had a lot of offensive players, right, step into the game because Shanahan's kind of tough on these guys. He really wants them to kind of go through their the practice and try to stand out in practice. And on offense, you got to be able to do the little nuances. Like if you're a receiver, you got to block. If you're a running back, you got to do your blitz pickups. TDP hasn't had much opportunities. I know there's been some undrafted guys they had. They drafted Nick Sikel. Danny Gray was supposed to be this big time stretch the field guy, but he's been very inconsistent with his blocks. So to me, the best rookie offensive player has been Spencer Burford, easily to me, because he's started ever since training camp took place. He's been given starting reps at right guard. He was with the first team reps, and he hasn't looked back ever since. He rotated with Dan Brunskill every now and again, but he has been holding down that starting right guard as a rookie. His 4th-round pick. He's been really good. I think he's been one of the bright spots of this team early on. The O-line's been better than I thought overall. Obviously, there's been some rough patches there, but I think Spencer Burford shows a lot of promise. He's going to be a quality player. I talked to him this offseason. Really good guy. You can just see he's a hard-working player. He's got a good work ethic. I like Spence, man. He's been dominating when he really feels the game and he builds a rhythm. He's made some penalties. He's a rookie. Obviously, he's not perfect, but I think Spencer Burford has really shown some impressive film out there. Again, he's a rookie right guard starting. He's going to make some mistakes, but, man, I'm impressed with him, and he's been really holding it down with Aaron Banks in those interior line spots. So, to me, Spencer Burford has been the best rookie offensive player. Shout out to Spencer Burford, man. Good dude, so humble, hard worker, and he's really taken off this season. Definitely the best offensive player. Really good dude. My man, Unlimited Joker says, I have to give Burford and Banks flowers. I honestly thought they would be trash. A lot of people did, my man. We didn't know what to expect from Aaron Banks. We didn't know what to expect from Spencer Burford. When I first talked to Burford, when I met this kid, when I met him and I did my interview with him, dude was larger than I was like, oh, God, this guy's fucking huge. Dude. I was like, this guy's big. But I was like, well, he's a lineman. I didn't really know nothing of him, And when he talked and he was just, answering questions, I was like, you know what? This guy really has a good mentality. He's just so humble. And he said he trained with Trent Williams all offseason. And you can tell, man, he wants to be a really good player. And, he's taken everything he's been given from the coaching staff, and he works hard. Again, he's made mistakes here and there, but he learns from those mistakes. Rookies are going to make some weird holding penalties, but they haven't been monumental penalties. And I think he's learning to, adjust and learn the technique, learn the game, and he knows that every rep's not going to be 100%. One of the best things he told me this offseason, he goes, even if you make a block and you make a play, until the whistle blows, the play's not over. You're always looking for work. As a lineman, he says, you're always looking for work. So I really appreciated that, what he said. He goes, if I block this guy and there's still somebody else coming and the whistle's not blowing, I'm going to look for that guy to see if I can make that block as long as it's in my zone. So really working great, and I'm impressed with what I've seen from him. So Augie Gonzalez, this squad is going to continue forward, and the rewards are going to be great. This team is not like the rest. I want to see this team offense and defense. They definitely have a good vibe. Again, that win was infectious but they got to be consistent. But I mean, the talent on this team is unbelievable, right? They have all pro players. They got some of the highest paid players at every position. You know, Bosa, Warner, Kittle, Debo. They're phenomenal talent. So I definitely think that the vibes are going to be up second half of the season. So, Unlimited Joker, do you think they'll try to convert Jason Poe to right tackle? You know, I don't know. I think Jason Poe more so is going to be a guard guy. But if they really, really are hard pressed on figuring out what to do at right tackle, they might give him a shot. You know, they do have other guys, Dan Brunskill. They got Colton McKivitz. They got Jalen Moore. You know, maybe they could throw Poe out there. He's kind of a small guy, and that's kind of a tough spot for a smaller build guy. You know, he's got to really work on that leverage if he's going to be a right tackle. So I honestly think that Poe transitions more to a center or a guard, but you never know, man. It you know, McGlinchey definitely hasn't been the best out there, and I think they're going to look into figuring out what to do at right tackle eventually. I mean, he's been good at run blocking, but we know Mike McGlinchey's always been a pretty above average run blocker. He's not bad in that department, but it's pass protection, and he hasn't improved. You know, he gets bull rushed so many times. You know, we're going to get to that most improved award. You know, let's go right into that since everybody's asking. Those are my defensive players. Most improved. This is good. Good segue. The most improved on defense. So this was a tough one because there's been a lot of players that really improved this year on defense, and it was a close call because I've seen some players like Deommodore Lenoir really make some strides this year. He's improved a lot. Charles Omenihu this year, you know, he's learned the defense and he's kind of stepped into a bigger role. Same thing with Samson Ebukam. He really has come into his own and become a underrated part of this defense. But to me, the guy that you have to look at for breakout or for most improved on defense, and it's not that he wasn't good or anything, and it's not to say that these guys weren't good last year, but this guy was a rookie last year. He was on special teams. He was rotating in and out, and now he's kind of been one of the more unsung heroes. Well, maybe not unsung. He's been one of the heroes of defense. Is Talanoa Hufanga. This guy's developing into a Pro Bowl safety. I know the last few weeks he's missed some big tackles, but overall, Talanoa Hufanga, man, has been unbelievable, especially those first few games. Like we were looking at him, we were like, oh my God, we just got Troy Polamalu, right? The comparisons have been there. He's made big plays. He's got three interceptions. His coverage has been phenomenal, which, you know, was something that everybody, you know, questioned. His just intensity, his instincts have been just home run instincts, man. And Hufanga has been one of our better players on defense overall. You know, for the first 5 weeks, they had the number one defense, and Hufanga was one of the major reasons for that. So to me, the most improved player on defense is Talanoa Hufanga by far, because when he was a rookie, you saw flashes, but the amount of talent and the amount of development he's made in 1 year is just insane to me. That's why I think he's the most improved player on defense. You know, last year he was pretty good. He showed flashes. He was a nice little rookie, you know, but this year he's like a Pro Bowl caliber. To make a jump like that, to jump from what he was last year to this year, it's like, damn. And he's like a vocal guy out there. He seems like a young leader. And he's 22 years old, and he's out there playing with no fear. And, I mean, the guy's so confident, well-spoken. I'm so impressed with Talanoa Hufanga. To me, he's the most improved player on defense. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree with that. Maybe you guys have somebody else. But in my opinion, Talanoa Hufanga is the most improved player on the defense. He's just played out of his mind. I know the last few weeks he's, you know, hasn't been the best. He's missed a lot of tackles, and he needs to clean that up. But you do got to remember that he did have a concussion, you know, so I think that might have affected him a little bit in terms of his overall abilities out there. So I think this bye week's going to do him really good to rest up, and I think he's going to come back really focused. His instincts, again, you can't teach that to anybody. That's just something you either have it or you don't. And Talanoa Hufanga has been just a standout to me. So. Tyler, yeah, I said Lenoir was the guy. To me, it was close. To Deommodore Lenoir really has had a big time improvement. You know, last year he looked good in the off season or in the preseason and stuff, and then he was in there, and then they didn't play, and then he went through a lot of personal stuff, and it was like, oh man, is Deommodore Lenoir even going to play? And then this year, man, he's been a focal part of this secondary, you know, with the injury to Mosley, and Lenoir has played some really good games, you know. So yeah, you can't I really did look into Lenoir, and he was one of the guys I looked at when I was making this list. I was like, man, Lenoir's really stood out, and he's really made improvements. But the amount of improvement and the amount of talent that Hufanga has shown, You just can't beat like the amount of like development he's shown in a year stretch is just crazy because he's like a Pro Bowl player, you know. And last year he was just the special teams guy. That right there tells me that he is the most improved player on defense. That's the way I look at it. So, Debbie says, watched you on Smitty's show last night. While you admitted you were wrong about D-Hop, Smitty hasn't said he was wrong about the Rams. You know what? I own up. I eat crow. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I know it. Sometimes I'm wrong, you know, surprisingly. But yeah, when I'm wrong, and I'll admit it. I was wrong about D-Hop so far. But yeah, Smitty, his pride really messes with him, and it's hard for him to admit when he's wrong, and it is what it is. But he did give Jimmy Garoppolo flowers, so I was at the end of the day, it was an eye for an eye. But you're right, Smitty does not like to admit when he's wrong. Andy 707, I think he's referring to Talanoga. He's been missing a lot of tackles lately. Yeah, that right there has been the issue, and I think he needs to clean that up. I think he'll figure that out as the bye week comes back. Gold Blooded says you got to give Hufanga, but I give a close second to Gibson. Well, you know, the thing is Gibson wasn't never on this team, so he can't improve from what he was last year, but he has been a very good bright spot. Gibson played well. Augie says, what are you talking about? How can you forget about the recovered block punt against Green Bay? Of course, that was a big-time play, 100%, right? That was an amazing play. But, I mean, the whole year last year, we didn't see Hufanga play the way he's played this year. He's taken that, like, moment from the Green Bay game, and I think he's, like, put that into this year. Like, he's starting to play as a big-time playmaker ever since that Green Bay playoff game. Like, that's what you see is a playmaker. You know, he didn't do that all year last year. But that's what I'm saying. Like, the development from last year's full season to this year, the growth has been just astronomical to me. So now let's move on to offense. That was most improved on defense. Most improved on offense. You can go a lot of ways with this one. There's so many people you can kind of look into because there's been a lot of people that improved. But to me, it was easy. Honestly, to me, the most improved player on offense is Aaron Banks, the left guard. I mean, he's been honestly the best lineman on the team. It's crazy. And they have Trent Williams. Obviously, he's been injured, hampered by the ankle sprain. And, you know, but Aaron Banks has been holding down the O-line. He has not allowed a sack through 8 games. He's been playing really good in pass protection. His run blocking has been phenomenal. Man, and Aaron Banks, everybody sat here this offseason, called him a bust. I was critical of him. I didn't know if he was going to develop into the guy we thought. You know, we let go of Lakin. We were all crying when Lakin left. Aaron Banks has been phenomenal. He's been better than Lakin Tomlinson. If you look at it through the stats, based on the metrics and everything, the guy's phenomenal, man. I got to give Aaron Banks a fucking bouquet of flowers. He's been so good. That is my most improved on offense. He didn't even play much last year. You know, he played a little bit in the preseason, injured his hamstring. He was a red shirt basically. And, you know, everybody sat here after the draft, myself included. I was sitting here going, could have drafted Asante Samuel, Azeez Ojulari, and he's making everybody eat crow, man. So shout out Aaron Banks. His dad must be very proud of him. He told me he was going to be fine, and looks like he's right. So Aaron Banks, man, most improved on offense. This guy has been a godsend for us. I really have been so impressed with how good he's been playing. I really can't stress about how much he's improved. And that's what this award is how much this player has improved. There's been guys that improved on this offense, and they look better, but nobody has made the amount of improvement as Aaron Banks, in my mind. I don't think so. This guy has been so good. He looks like a Pro Bowler out there. So, Wells, can we talk about Aaron Banks' dad and the beef? This is a good time to bring it up, I guess, since we're on the subject of big Aaron Banks. Mr. Banks' baby boy. You know what? So last year, play a preseason football. I think it was the Raiders game. It was the first preseason game of the year. I'm out there. I'm hyped up, and I'm like cheering on the team. Aaron Banks was getting he was getting pushed around. He was getting dog walked, and you know, I think he got hurt in that game. And I was just like, oh man. And I wasn't saying like he's trash or anything. I was like, oh come on, Banks, you got to figure it out. I was just like out there being very vocal. Like that's what I was doing. I was like, oh come on, man, you can't let that go around you. But I was like, and I was like, I know you're a rookie, but you'll get it together. That's what I was saying. I was like out there just, being vocal about the guy. I wasn't saying, oh, you fucking suck, you're trash. Like some fans out there, they're like, oh, you trash. But I was very vocal, and I was like, you could tell I was like frustrated that he was getting beat every play. So this guy on my right, with his family and stuff. Big dude. He's like, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. And I was like, all right, dude, get it. I was like, must be a big Aaron Banks fan. Like, it must have been his draft crush, right? I was like, this guy must be Aaron Banks' biggest fan. He must have like wanted him to be drafted, but he's gonna be fine. Don't worry about that guy. I know he's gonna be fine. And I was like, okay, okay. And I go, what makes you think he's gonna be fine? You know, I just know he's a rookie and he's young and he's developing, you know, things like that. And I said, I understand he's got to go. He goes, that's my son, and I know he's gonna be fine. And I was like, and at that moment, after that, I was like, oh, okay, have a good day. I really am. I said, I'm really hoping that he does good in his career. And then it was weird. Like, we made this weird eye contact, and it was like awkward. And I was just like, all right, go, Aaron Banks. Go, Aaron Banks. It was his biggest fan. I think we have a guest coming in. I'm going to tune him in. Here he is, man of the hour, Rohan. What's up, man? This guy is Mr. Famous. No introduction needed, but I'm going to give him one. This guy was on Frank Cohn today, and now he's on my show, the heavy hitter, Rohan. What's up, man?
Hey, I mean, I saw your text. He said, if you got time, pull up. I got a show at 6 o'clock, but I'm like, guess what? We got 15 minutes for my number one guy. I told you last time.
Hey,
I couldn't make it last time. I got to make it this time then.
That's why we love you, man. Like VZ said, you stay working. You're one of my guys, man. I love when you hop on. The fans love you. You're great, dude. Good content when you come on. So, yeah, it's good to have you. So today we're talking about, mid-season awards, the players that, stood out, who didn't stand out. I've been going through it. I guess I'll ask you, I'll let you catch up. Who's been your who's been your top defensive rookie? Who is your top offensive rookie? I'll go ahead and let you kind of go through that.
I mean, if we're talking about the rookie class, right, obviously there haven't been too many contributors. I think for defense, the number one guy has to be Drake Jackson, obviously, given the impact that he's made. I mean, I've spoken with his camp before, and I mean, I saw we saw the potential in training camp. We saw how the 49ers were going to give him reps, and really the number one signal was the 53-man roster. They didn't bring Kemoko Turay on, signifying that they had confidence in a guy like Drake Jackson. Great athletic traits. They love playing him on third downs. When you watch the film, that's where he's on the most. Him and Nick Bosa on those third downs. I think that overall, it's a good sign for Drake Jackson, and I think he's going to be a cornerstone and really probably the reason that Samson Ebukam or Charles Omenihu, one of those two players, does not end up getting an extension with the 49ers this year. And so it's a good job by the front office because they've been able to insulate the talent at an important position while bringing in other guys so that when other guys go and get bigger paydays, Arden Key, etc., they have another guy to kind of pull in and plug in right there.
Yeah. It's kind of like with Aaron Banks we were just talking about. They let go of Lakin, and they had the guy waiting in the wings to take over, and that's a great point.
Exactly.
Whoever's probably cheaper, they'll keep Omenihu or Ebukam, because they're both going to cost pretty penny and also Bosa. So one of them will be expendable, and you got Drake Jackson ready to take the wings. So, and that was my answer. I feel like he's been really good given the opportunities he's been provided with, and with Chris Kasurek there, he's really learned a lot. Obviously, there hasn't been a lot of defensive rookies,
right.
But yeah, Drake Jackson definitely has been such a good standout. I like what I've seen out of him. Seems like a second-round steal. What about offense? Who do you think's been the best offensive rookie?
And real quick, before I go to the offense, I do want to give some praise to Samuel Womack.
Yeah.
Womack, obviously a guy who played pretty well in the preseason, got his way into reps, and then obviously pulled for Deommodore Lenoir. I'm not going to talk about Womack as a cornerback. It's too early. But him as a gunner, I think he's been a very underrated special teams player this year. Really a reason in the last few weeks why the 49ers have kind of inched back in that category, in the special teams category. Remember, Tarvarius Moore suffered an injury in week 3. That from week 3 to week 6 or so, the 49ers were really struggling in that in the special teams unit. Then Samuel Womack starts to get more snaps. You see him improving. He had a highlight play this past week as a gunner.
Yeah,
I think that's nice. Where he's kind of underrated because he's got the size. He's got the speed, and it seems like he's getting that instinctual ability as well. Important for him to contribute as a rookie on that end.
Yeah, I like him. You're right. Special teams ace. He reminds me of a young Raheem Mostert out there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, so offense, I had Spencer Burford. I mean, nobody else has really had a lot of opportunities, but Burford being a right-away contributor from training camp, we saw him out there every day getting better, stacking days, and I mean, he's been a very solid offensive lineman out there on that right guard spot. So that's who I had. I don't know if you have anybody else on that.
No, I think it's the exact same. Honestly, I think you can make the argument that the offensive side of this draft class has been disappointing. Tyrion Davis-Price was
Yeah.
expected to potentially get a bigger role, hasn't looked the part, and really doesn't have the vision yet. He needs to get those reps to kind of get back to where to his draft status, a third round pick. He has to exceed the expectations of a third round pick for him to be worth that pick, given the talent at that spot. So he's kind of disappointed thus far. I'm not saying anything against him or his career. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan. I thought that Davis-Price was around a fifth round selection,
Yeah.
but the 49ers do well with running backs. Then there are other offensive rookie is Danny Gray, third rounder. Gray, one of my favorites of the class, but I also understood how raw he was as a prospect. I think fans don't understand that element right now. They think that Gray could be implemented every time there's a deep route. Gray doesn't have the requisite route running available right now, but most importantly, Gray isn't a good blocker. Ray-Ray McCloud
Yeah.
is, and that's where Ray-Ray McCloud gets snaps. And so when you see Danny Gray on the field, if he was to get the amount of reps that maybe Ray-Ray McCloud did, you would see glimpses, or you would see faltering, like these glimpses that it isn't that great in certain elements, especially in the running game and when you're expected to block. So they've been, I guess you can say, disappointing so far, but Burford for sure has exceeded expectations.
Yeah.
He's been a key cog at right guard and really a piece for the future. Huge hit in the fourth round to get a starting right guard. The Rams tried to do that in the third round, and unfortunately, theirs suffered an injury for the remainder of the year. The 49ers here, great hit with Spencer Burford, a guy who could project to even be a tackle later in the future if needed, but
Yeah.
a strong guard right now.
Yes, I mean he's a starter, fourth round pick starter, and you're right. He can play tackle if they want to choose that route next year. You know, McGlinchey questions. Maybe they can move Burford onto the right guard, right tackle spot. Definitely been a nice addition to this team. And I agree with Gray. He's just not blocking. He's not consistent. Shanahan talked about it. And if you're not going to pull your weight in the blocking and your routes are still kind of raw, I mean, as a receiver, you got a long way to go. And I know he has that potential, that deep ball threat, because we've seen the big highlight plays right in training camp and in the preseason, like, oh my God, he has it. But there's so many little intricate things as a receiver that you got to be able to do. And man, when you go up against a cornerback and they're running press man on you and you can't break off the line, you're probably not going to get many opportunities. So I agree with that. Moving on, I talked about most improved offense, defense. My two picks on defense, I had Talanoa Hufanga because of the way he's developed from where he was last year. The amount of development he did, it to me is crazy to see. Obviously, I know he's had some tackling issues the last week. He had the concussion, but I still think most improved on defense so far has been Hufanga, and most improved on offense, man, Aaron Banks. This guy's he's just been phenomenal to me on offense.
Yeah, I think that both players have been important. On defense, if you're talking about most improved, Talanoa Hufanga definitely earns some ranking there. I think he definitely deserves it because obviously a guy who was probably claimed to be in the position group that was the weakest on the defense heading into the year, Hufanga made that defense something else. Really got that kick from maybe a top 10 defense to a top 5 defense earlier on. And so that was a huge part of Hufanga. He obviously needs to now just display the consistency. Hasn't necessarily been consistent because of the missed tackles. And sometimes the issue with the missed tackles is they really lead to big opportunities. When we talked about bad on bad on bad last week, it was some of those plays where Hufanga misses a tackle and it goes for a touchdown, right? And so those are the plays that you can't really afford. But Hufanga has definitely been a pleasant surprise. I don't think he'll make a Pro Bowl or an All Pro this year, not at least not at the moment. But it's definitely been a pleasant surprise. Some other names that you could probably put out there. Charles Omenihu could be considered a most improved candidate. His pressure rate has been pretty high. Yes, against the Chiefs, the 49ers only had 5 pressures when Omenihu was the number 1 guy. But Omenihu isn't considered to be a number 1 guy. He's a number 2 or a number 3 guy that can work in when given one-on-one opportunities on the inside. Was expected to take over that Arden Key role. I had confidence in Omenihu. I even thought Omenihu was a better player than Arden Key at the beginning of the season. And Omenihu is proving that he can really be a contributor for the 49ers this year. So far, a pretty solid year for Charles Omenihu.
Yeah.
I think he has 3 sacks, and Ebukam is 3.5, so he's
Yeah.
third currently on the team in sacks.
Yeah, those two guys have been really good, pleasant surprises. You can tell the second half of last season, both of these guys really took off. They figured out the scheme. And yeah, those are two guys that I did kind of mention. But I just think the overall growth that Hufanga showed, especially in in that first couple games, I was like, wow, that amount of like growth he showed in such a short amount of time was impressive to me. But you're right, he has to show the consistency in his tackles, and that's where we he needs to kind of improve. He's still young, 22. Offensively, like I said, I had Aaron Banks. To me, I just don't think anybody's improved as much as he. Everybody thought he was a bust. We all owe him apologies. Everybody thought we should have drafted, Asante Samuel. Everybody sat here. I remember every tweet, probably every 49ers content creator. Oh, why are we drafting Aaron Banks? They got Laken Tomlinson. Oh, why did they let Laken Tomlinson go? And through the metrics, Aaron Banks is better than Laken Tomlinson. He's played great.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, when you talk about the 49ers, Aaron Banks has to definitely be in that range, right?
Yeah.
Aaron Banks has been a player who I wasn't necessarily as high on. I thought he was a third round. I had a third round evaluation on him in the draft, so that's where the reach was. But Banks definitely had the prospects to be a good player, and
Mm.
really the huge improvement isn't in pass protection, but rather run defense. Banks did struggle to anchor at times in the preseason, but I assured 49er fans on countless occasions in the preseason, guys, this unit is going to be a top 16 unit, a top 15 unit, at least an average unit in the NFL. And that's exactly what they're proving to be. I didn't have an issue, even with Jake Brendel, a new starter, Spencer Burford, a new starter, and Aaron Banks. I had confidence in the unit based on what I saw. And this is exactly what I anticipated when I thought the offensive line would happen. Did I think might have happened this fast? No. They've been proving that they've been a good unit for a while now. But overall, I do think this 49ers unit is a strong unit, and this is what I anticipated would be the case in the offseason. I think that Aaron Banks is arguably the 49ers' second best offensive lineman in year number 2 behind Trent Williams. I think he's now eclipsed Mike McGlinchey after Mike McGlinchey's kind of up and down year at times. But overall, yeah, he's definitely in the mix. I think the other name that we have to bring up is Brandon Ayuk, who in a
Yeah.
way is now proving he's a wide receiver 1 in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Brandon Ayuk, I'm gonna get to him soon. Yeah, he's definitely been showing big improvements. Started from training camp. He was pretty much the best player in the whole training camp, man. You saw that the guy was
Yeah.
just locked in, locked and loaded. I mean, this guy has been phenomenal. He's taken that leap, but I think we all expected it. I don't
Mhm.
think any of us really expected Aaron Banks to be, like you said, the second best lineman on this team. But man, the amount of development, just kind of like Hufanga, the amount of development he's made in a short time has been impressive. But yeah, Brandon Ayuk, you can't take anything away from him. The guy's been phenomenal. Just his route running is getting better every single week. He's always open, like he's running so crisp off the line. He's become a young leader in that clubhouse. No Debo last week, and he was like taking control of this receiving group, and I was like, wow, I was impressed. Just the way he kind of handles himself. And he said in his interview the other day on KMBR, Shanahan challenged him, and he says, "Hey, look, you're either gonna step up and be better, or you're not going to, be a star on this team." And because he even said that coaches told him he was just great. He always had people telling him he was great. And Shanahan told him, "You're not great yet." And he took that as a challenge. And I was like, man, this guy really has just mentally evolved. And yeah, Brandon Ayuk has been a really great player to see step up this year. It's been fun to watch him. Before we get to the MVPs of this team, and before I know you leave, I want to talk about the two disappointing, because it's not all great, right? We've had
Mhm.
a 4-4 record. It's not like we're sitting here um, the greatest team on earth. When we win, everybody. I think I was watching you earlier, and you were like, pumping our chest. We got to pump the brakes, basically, because just because we won doesn't
Yeah.
mean we're the greatest team on the planet right now. It feels great,
100%.
but we do need to pump the brakes, and there has been some disappointment. So I want to go most disappointing on defense and offense. I'm gonna let you go first. It's you just this we haven't talked about this yet, so I'll let you go, man. Most disappointing offense, defense. Who do you got?
Yeah, I mean, on defense, it's tough, right? Defense obviously has been a strong unit. If you talk about injury, it's going to be Javon Kinlaw. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put it on injury because injuries are out of a player's hands. So I'm not going to do it about injury. But to me, probably at this point, as unfortunate as it sounds, it's Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward is he's been a slot, like he's been playing in the slot over this entire kind of part of this last few weeks that he's been in. And again, it's tough because he also himself is nursing an injury, the broken hand, which I've wrote in several articles, is the reason why his coverage hasn't been good. He can't jam players at the line of scrimmage because he doesn't have a damn hand to use at the line of scrimmage. So he can't jam players, which was his main talent in coverage before. He doesn't have the requisite speed to keep up with some wide receivers and tight ends. He doesn't have the requisite, like, it's because he's a safety. That's not his expectation. There's a reason he moved from corner to safety. But because of the lingering injury, because he can't be able to use the entirety of his arsenal, and because the 49ers are relinquently playing him out of position, he unfortunately has not looked great. And so that's probably where I have to go, even if though it's a small sample size. But again, because I put out Jimmy Ward's name, that just shows to a testament how good this defense has been.
Yeah. That's you know what, I like that answer, because I think the easy answer is Javon Kinlaw, because the injuries, you know, the whole offseason fiasco where we know, and everybody's sitting here hoping that he can just be this guy. Like, the injuries have mounted up, the chronic injuries. He had the ACL surgery. He put himself in great condition, and then we're all hoping for him to be that guy. You know, the 14th pick in the draft. You know, they got rid of Defoe, and everybody has a lot of pressure on him, and then he gets hurt. Of course, like clockwork, he gets hurt. So it's easy to say he's the most disappointing, and it really is. He really is, because of injury. But I like your answer with Jimmy Ward, because that was kind of unexpected. That was a good one, because he has been injured himself also. He's got the club hand, and it's definitely impacted him as a player out there. He can't jam at the line. So it's a good answer. Also, you have to throw in Arik Armstead. You know, I know he's been injured too, but if we're going to keep that energy with Javon Kinlaw, it's the same thing with Armstead. This guy's supposed to be a phenomenal interior lineman. He's getting paid a lot of money. And unfortunately, he hasn't been out there. So he's been disappointing also. So if you
can make that argument too. Yeah.
In terms of disappointment, it's Armstead. My answer, though, I did go with Kinlaw, because everybody expected him to have the breakout season. And it's simply put, Kinlaw's not having the breakout we all expected. And it is because of injuries. But, I mean, hey, this is your third year in the league. You got to come in, and this is your money year. And unfortunately, he looks like the Greg Oden of the NFL. It sucks, man, but that's the way I look at it. Offense, what do you got? Who's your most disappointing player on offense?
All right, I'll say the name and then I'll leave, because I love to give speculation. It's going to be an interesting name, but if I'm being honest, it's Deebo Samuel.
Woo!
It's a very, very, very probably polarizing topic, but Deebo Samuel's catch rate has not been that high this year. It's a 59% catch rate. He gets significant volume. Brandon Ayuk has arguably been the better receiver this year, and I'm very intrigued to see what the role will be for Deebo Samuel with Christian McCaffrey in the fold. He averaged about 8 targets a game, but now I don't think Deebo Samuel's going to get that volume. And the rushing attack, that has essentially been neutralized. To me, Deebo Samuel is a valuable player, but a half of that value has been erased this year because the 49ers can't utilize him as a running back. And that, in a way, that masks the issues that he had as a receiver. He's never been great with his hands, and he hasn't also, the biggest thing that has changed this year is his separation. He hasn't had the direct ability to separate, but he's also done amazingly after the catch. So to me, it's a polarizing topic, but based on the insane expectations that he had last year, because he was an All-Pro last year, he hasn't been an All-Pro this year, and I don't think he'll make a Pro Bowl if he continues the way that he's doing. Nothing against him. That's just the way that it is based on expectation. Man. But Raj, appreciate you so much. I got to head out right now because it's 6, and love all y'all in the chat, man.
I appreciate you, man. What a way to leave, huh? Good deal. I'll talk to you soon, man. Appreciate you, Rohan. Yeah. I'm going to dovetail off that. That's a good way to leave the show, man. That's a good segue out. He made a really good point there. And based on expectations, Deebo Samuel has disappointed probably the most. He's getting paid $71 million. He's nursing a hamstring injury. We all thought he was going to be this all-pro player. It's not that he's not good. He's phenomenal after the catch. He's still he's number 8 in yards after the catch in the league. That just shows you how good he still is. He's just not getting the rate usage. That teams have kind of figured out that Shanahan's going to give him the ball and he's going to go in open space. And like Rohan said, sometimes he's not getting the separation. He's that slant guy, but he's not going out there and making big time routes like Ayuk is, and he doesn't have the full route tree the way that Brandon Ayuk is. In terms of pure wide receiver, I feel like Deebo Samuel hasn't taken that next step like Brandon Ayuk has. So I think that's a very correct answer. I know you can make the argument for Mike McGlinchey. We all want to say McGlinchey's been disappointing, but he really hasn't had that expectation that Deebo did with a $71 million contract. Right? So Marco says he got the bag and hasn't done much. So it's unfortunate. But I feel like he'll come around. But again, also too, you got to remember Deebo didn't really train a lot this offseason as much as he normally would with the players and stuff. He was going through the offseason, the trade, and he kind of had to stay at bay and do his own thing. He probably didn't train nearly as much as he would have normally because he didn't want to risk injury without getting a contract. So those are all factors. I think Rohan, hit the nail on the head on that one. That's a good call. Definitely can't argue that. Now we're going to shift gears to the last two guys here we'll talk about, and then we'll head on to the predictions. So we got to talk about defensive MVP. There's a lot of good candidates on this team. Dre Greenlaw's had a phenomenal year. That first game, though, I penalized him because there was a lot of penalties. But ever since he signed that contract extension, he's been probably one of the best players on this defense. He's been so good tackling. I mean, this guy's been ferocious all over the field. He's been a big-time playmaker. Of course, Talanoa Hufanga had a really good start to the season. Fred Warner, I know he hasn't played like all-pro Fred, but he's had some really exceptional moments through the season. That spear tackle was phenomenal. But to me, the defensive MVP is Nick Bosa by far and away. For the first couple of weeks, the 49ers were the number one defense, and Nick Bosa was the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. He's still in the mix, and anytime you're listed as a front runner for Defensive Player of the Year, you're the best defensive player on your team. He's been phenomenal. He's top 5 in every pass rush category, pass rush win rate, QB pressures, QB hits, sacks. The guy's been unbelievable. And, he missed a game and a half. And he played against the Chiefs with the groin injury. I mean, this guy has been so good. And I don't even think he's reached his peak yet, So Nick Bosa, to me, has been the defensive MVP. And, I mean, it's not even close. The defense goes through Nick Bosa. He makes this defense work. He demands so much double teams. He demands so much attention to him. When he's not in there, this team can't get the pressures. Rohan even said it. When they played against the Chiefs, they had 5 pressures. That's just nothing, So I got to give him the Defensive Player of the Year. So far, mid-season, Nick Bosa to me has been the best defensive player on this team. And when he's gone, you notice it. When Nick Bosa's not there, it affects every single person on the team. He definitely has been the defensive MVP to me, in my eyes. He's a beast, man. So I love the guy. He's been phenomenal. Switching over to the offensive side, to me, this was an easy one. This was so easy. It's Brandon Ayuk, offensive MVP. This guy's been the most consistent player. He's been winning every route, man. This guy's been so good. He's taken that third-year leap. He's, really starting to gel with Jimmy. The last 3 games, he's got 3 touchdowns. He's got at least 80 yards in every single one of those games. He's the leading reception getter. The guy's the best receiver on this team. He's taken a leap. He took this season serious. He was challenged by Shanahan, and he says, all right, bet. And he really has just transformed himself this year as a receiver. I know he hasn't had like that flashy 150-yard game or whatever, those big, beautiful stat games, but he's consistent and he's been healthy, and that's what, makes him the best player on offense. He's been the MVP. Every time he gets the ball, he's a chain mover. He's a catalyst for a lot of the big drives. He gets things moving. You get the ball in his hands, good things happen. He's always getting big yards. He's been a yak guy too himself. To me, Brandon Ayuk has been the best player on offense, man. So I've been so impressed. Jimmy Robinson says CMC. You know what, Jimmy? When I was doing my list, I was like, God, CMC's already like a top candidate, and he's only played 2 games. Honestly, he's like top 3 on that list. That you can make the argument that Christian McCaffrey is that important and that much of an MVP on this team on offense. But I really got to give Brandon Ayuk his credit because every week he's been so consistent. He's been a big focal point. He's the leading receiver. He's the best, receiver on this team right now. And, everybody was coming into the season talking about Debo, but it's Brandon Ayuk, man. This is his season, and he's taken over. I really am impressed with what he's done. Also, George Kittle's had a really good season. I got to give him his flowers, man. George Kittle was he's starting to kind of figure get involved in the red zone, and also his blocking is just so damn important. When he's in there, the blocking is just so good. And you know what? He's not on the team anymore, but Jeff Wilson Jr. was a really good player. If he was still on this team, he would have been mentioned as one of the top players. I mean, he's going to definitely be a player in Miami. He's going to be really good there. They got a really good player, man. He was number 11 in rush yards, and he was slicing and dicing, man. Jeff Wilson Jr. made a lot of big-time plays for this team. But, yeah, shout out to Brandon Aiyuk. To me, he's been the best player on offense. He's my offensive MVP. So those are my midseason awards. I don't know if you agree with them all. That's cool if you don't. It's cool if you do. We all are going to have our opinions, but those to me are the people that stood out. Shout out to Rohan for coming in and dropping his takes on those guys. So now we need to switch gears. Now we need to talk about what do you expect about this team. Yesterday we said they're contenders, but in order to be contenders, you got to get to the playoffs. In order to get to the playoffs, you got to win games. So now I need to make you guys give me some predictions. What do you guys think the record's going to be? We're going to put the schedule up there. Mark B says Juice makes plays all the time when he gets the ball. You know what? You're right. I think Kyle Juszczyk's probably one of the most underrated players on this team. He definitely deserves a lot of love. He's an underrated player that doesn't get much love. But yeah, Kyle Juszczyk, man, he makes this offense go. He definitely is we should consider him in that mix too. He doesn't get a lot of love, but he definitely is a heavy hitter. He's a big time part of this team. So right now, if we look at the standings, the 49ers, if the playoffs started today, we'd be the number 7 seed playing the Minnesota Vikings. I like that. I would love that, man. The Vikings and the Niners traditionally play them pretty good. I don't know if you see the graphic here. It's kind of small, but we have a couple games coming up, right? We got a kind of easy schedule, I feel like. But there are some tough teams on that schedule. So let's pull this up. We have games against the Chargers next, right, on Sunday Night Football, Week 10. Then we play the Cardinals. Then we play the Saints. Then we play the Dolphins. That's going to be a tough game. The Buccaneers, right now, the Buccaneers do not look good. You know, Tom Brady going through divorce. And then you got the Seahawks, though. We might be looking ahead to the Seahawks, right, on that Week 14 game. Seahawks are tough. They look like a really strong team in the NFC West. It's going to be a battle between us two, right? Niners and Seahawks. And then you have the Washington Commanders. And then you have the Raiders on New Year's. And then you finish the season off with the Arizona Cardinals. So I definitely think we have a lot of winnable games to this season. But the 49ers have to be consistent, which we talked about yesterday. They have to limit mistakes. So let's go through this one by one. Obviously, we're not playing this week, but then we have the bye week. We have the bye week this week. And the next week, after that, Week 10, the 49ers, Sunday Night Football against the Chargers at Levi Stadium. I'll be there. That's going to be a fun game. What do you guys think? I think the Niners can win this game. Chargers have a lot of injuries. Keenan Allen, he's hurt. Joey Bosa is probably not going to play. He's hurt. J.C. Jackson is out for the season. They're kind of an inconsistent team sometimes. They're up and down, but they have a phenomenal quarterback, Justin Herbert. The guy can shred anybody, anytime, any day. I think that's going to be a tough match. It's Sunday Night Football, but I feel like the 49ers coming off a bye are going to have a lot of momentum. I think the 49ers win this game, so they go 5-4. After that, Monday Night Football in Mexico. Oh, talk about a vibe of a game. Mexico, baby. The 49ers. Sheesh, this is going to be a fun one. I think the Cardinals, even though they're not playing that good right now, and they're kind of inconsistent, they always play the 49ers well. That's a tough matchup. It is a very tough matchup. And I can see the 49ers maybe not winning, but I think the vibes with the Mexico vibes, and it's really not a home game for Cardinals. I feel like this is more of a home game for the Niners, especially with the Niners fan base. You know, we travel everywhere. They're going to make this a home game. I feel the 49ers are going to win this game, even though the Cardinals play the Niners very tough on a weekly basis, on a yearly basis. They beat us with Colt McCoy, for God's sake. But it's going to be fun. It's a division game. I think the 49ers win this game. So that's 2 wins. That's 6-4 right there. We do play them. They do play us tough, man, but they have not really been consistent this year. Cliff Kingsbury is a horrible coach, and I think his true colors have been starting to show. So I got the Niners winning this one to go 6-4. And then they play the Saints. The Saints have a lot of issues. Andy Dalton, he's not the best starting quarterback in the world. He's kind of up and down. Michael Thomas, he just got ruled out for the rest of the year. He's been, that's a big blow to that team. They have Chris Olave, who's really good. obviously good rookie. But I still think that they don't have enough firepower, out there. They got Kamara, he's really good, obviously, but I just don't think the Saints are going to have enough firepower. It's in Levi Stadium. I think the Niners are going to be rolling. They're going to go on a run. 49ers, I think they take this game, but I think it's going to be closer than people expect. It's going to be one of those games where you're just like, oh, man, we might lose this game. It just feels like one of those weird trap games, but I do think the 49ers will win this game. So that's 7-4. Then they play the Dolphins. This is going to be the ultimate chess match. You got Miami Mike and Kyle Shanahan in Levi Stadium, another home game. They got 3 home games in a row. I'll be at this game. I think the Dolphins are going to win this game. I hate to say it. I think the Dolphins are going to win this game. Niners go to 7-5. It's going to be one of these weird games. Miami Mike, I think he's going to out-scheme Kyle Shanahan. I just have this feeling Dolphins are going to beat the Niners. I'm going to go home depressed. I hope I'm wrong. And then the week after that, they'll bounce back game. The Buccaneers, Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, they finally get to play against each other. This is going to be a fun game. I wish I was there. I might have to get a last-minute ticket for this one. I think the 49ers can bounce back, win this game, go 8-5. I feel like the Niners win this game. There's just too much going on with the Buccaneers. They got a lot of injuries. Shaq Barrett's hurt. They just been inconsistent. Tom Brady is going through divorce. I've been through that. Your mind is not in the right place. He's the GOAT, but the GOAT being divorced, that's tough to deal with. So I think the 49ers get that dub, bounce back after a loss to Miami. They go 8-5, but they might be looking ahead. So it's going to be tougher than just going out there and dog walking them, because they got a game after that, Thursday Night Football, against the Seattle Seahawks in the Emerald City. I want to sweep the Seahawks this season. We haven't swept them in, God, I don't even remember. The Seattle Seahawks always play the 49ers tough. They're playing really good. Pete Carroll is just coaching like a madman right now. I hate the Seahawks, but I respect Pete Carroll. They got great rookies. Tariq Woolen, Defensive Rookie of the Month. Kenneth Walker, Offensive Rookie of the Month. Geno Smith, Offensive Player of the Month on the NFC. Like, that's crazy, dude. They had the Defensive Rookie of the Month, the Offensive Rookie of the Month, and the Offensive Player of the Month. The Seahawks are playing out of their mind. It's going to be a tough game, but I think the Niners can win this game. I don't know if they're going to win this game. I think the 49ers will lose this game just because it's on the road. I think Pete Carroll's got this team playing at a high level. 49ers go 9-6. They go 9-6 right there, or 8-6, 8-6. And then after that, they play the Commanders. I think the 49ers come back, Levi Stadium, get some home cooking. They beat the Commanders 9-6. Raiders on New Year's Day. I'll be at that game. That's going to be a fun one. I think they win that game 10-6. And then the final game of the season, they sweep the Arizona Cardinals. They take them out, Levi Stadium. They sweep the Birds, and they go 11-6. That was my record prediction at the beginning of the season. And I think the 49ers go 11-6 to finish the season. And I still think they can win the NFC West. It's going to be close. That Seahawks game, that might determine it. But I feel like the Seahawks might lose a few games here and there. And Arizona hopefully can beat them in a game, or the Rams. But I don't know. I still feel like the Niners can go 11-6 and win the NFC West. But that Seahawks game, man, it's going to be, I don't know. I don't feel too confident about them right now. They've been playing on another level. And playing in Seattle, that's tough. My man Sean said the Niners haven't swept the Seahawks since he was in 8th grade. You see what I mean? How old are you now, Sean? So we can get a timestamp on that. And the Seahawks play the Niners good. I hate to say it. Pete Carroll, he knows how to play this team. So we'll see. But that's my prediction. I got them going 11-6. It could go either way, but you just know that they're going to lose. If they can't win every game, it would be nice for them to win out. That's just the way I see it. I'm going to be unbiased. I'm going to sit here and say that they'll go 11-6. They're going to lose some games. I hate to pick them to lose a game, but that's just the way I see it. They've been a 4-4 team. It's not like they're elite right now. They got to get consistent. They got to play good football, limit mistakes. Are they beatable? Yes. Are they a team that when they're healthy and clicking, unstoppable? Yes, they're both. They're 4-4. They've shown both sides of it. Gold Blooded says, they whooped them up in Seattle on week 2. That was week 2, man. The season changes things. Some people start slow. I get it. We whooped them. We dominated them. It's a whole different team. Both teams are looking different. Maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Niners beat Seattle, but I'm just making predictions, and I'm not going to sit here and pick them to go win every game. I would love to, but for the sake of predictions, I got to pick a few games that they're going to lose, and those are the two games I think they're going to lose, Miami and Seahawks. So that's the way it goes. Kai says the Dolphins looking stacked. Yeah, the Dolphins are looking good. I feel like the Dolphins are just going to be out. I think Mike McDaniel is going to be gunning for Kyle Shanahan. I think he wants to prove he's better than Kyle. Like that's his. This is a big game for both of them, but I think Mike McDaniel has this game circled and he wants to prove that he's going to be better than Kyle. Obviously, they got two great receiver, Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Man, those two guys are deadly duo. I mean, you can sit here and say that, you know, that the Dolphins might not win. Obviously, the Niners could win it. Every week is a different story. It's week to week, but I feel like the Dolphins, man, are just going to come in and Mike McDaniel might outcoach Kyle. That's the way I look at it right now. Obviously, it can change every week. You don't know what's going to happen injuries-wise, but just based on this, to make a prediction, I'm going to pick the Dolphins to win. So Sean says, here's my prediction. We win every game except the Dolphins and finish 12-5. I wish. I hope you're right. Damn. My man Sean says he's 24. It'd be really awesome. So they haven't swept him since he was in 8th grade, and now he's 24. That's a long time, my man. That's a long time. It's a long time. Let's take a look at the Seattle Seahawks schedule for you know, being fairness. Let me see, Hawks. Pull that up. Seahawks schedule. They got okay, so they obviously play the Cardinals next. They play the Cardinals next. They at Arizona. They play the Cardinals at Arizona this week. They should probably beat the Cardinals, but this is going to be a must-win game for the Cardinals. I really hope that the Cardinals sneak a win here. And then the Seahawks go against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. Road game. Again, Tampa Bay's been struggling, but I feel like at some point, you know, if they're going to make a run, they got to turn it around. Tom Brady, right? He's the GOAT. Maybe he turns it around. We'll see. Then the Seahawks come home and they play the Raiders after that. That's their next game. I think they have a bye, and then they play the Raiders on Thanksgiving week, the weekend of Thanksgiving. So they play the Raiders. And then after that, they play the Rams in LA, in Levi's South. And then they go to back home and they play the Panthers. They should be able to win that game. And then December 15th, Thursday Night Football after the Panthers, they play us, the 49ers. And then their last 3 games, pretty tough. They finish off with the Kansas City Chiefs. Ooh, that could be a game that helps us in the win department. And then they play against the Jets, who've been a pretty overachieving team. They've been okay so far. And then they finish the season against the Rams at home. So they still have 2 games against the Rams. The Rams want to turn it around. They may, you know, that could be a game that helps us too. 2 games against the Rams. So those 2 games can really help determine the NFC West. You know, the Niners have to continue to win. So even if they do lose to the Seahawks, there's still a way the 49ers win the NFC West. So I feel like the 49ers, they go 11-6, they can win this thing. So, yeah, tough season. Kenneth says, people realize how much pressure CMC. Yeah, CMC took so much pressure off that offense, man. It's crazy. Love CMC. Love the addition. Those are the predictions for today. In the comments after the show, drop your predictions on how you think the season is going to finish out. If you think that they're going to be 11-6, if you think they're going to be 10-7, or if you think they're going to win all their games, or like Sean says, he thinks they're going to be 12-5. Drop your comments in the comment section after the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Those were my midseason awards. Those are my predictions. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And as always, go Niners. I love you. Have a good rest of your night. I'll probably see you later on Instagram. We got Thursday Night Football in about 40 minutes, so we'll probably tap into that, see what's up. Eagles tonight, probably going to win against Houston Texans. The Eagles have such an easy schedule, man. It's kind of a shame to sit here and look at their schedule and just realize that they're coasting, and everybody thinks they're this great team. And obviously their record is amazing. They look like a stacked team, but they're not going to be tested. They're not going to be battle tested when it comes to the playoffs. So, hey, if the Niners end up playing the Eagles down the line, I like our chances. Have a good one.